Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new video and welcome to the finale of our F125 Cadillac career mode. Yes, 15 races down, 79 episodes in this series, and it all comes down to this, a sprint and a main event here from Losail. Of course, if you missed out on the video that went live a few days ago from Las Vegas, I would highly recommend going back and checking it out. But whatever happens tonight, this is going to be the last race of our My Team career mode. Yes, I'm sorry to those of you that have been enjoying it, but ultimately, I think My Team is a little bit dead inside F125. I made a video on that a couple of weeks ago as well. So I've got a few ideas for some other series I want to do. Obviously, Formula 1 content is not going away or anything like that. But yeah, this is going to be the last dance, the last chance to try and make Cadillac a Formula 1 World Champion, and also the last chance for anybody to stop Charles Leclerc from becoming a 4-time Formula 1 World Champion inside this series. Taking a look though at the championship, we've actually got a pretty good shot here. 18 points clear of Leclerc. Theoretically, we could wrap it up in the sprint race. If I won the sprint and Leclerc didn't score, that would be it. We'd go into the Grand Prix with nothing left to fight for in the Drivers' Championship. Constructors-wise, we are only 9 points ahead of Ferrari as well, and I want to do everything I can to make sure that we win the double this weekend as well. But I mean, you take a look back through previous championships as well. Charles Leclerc obviously beat out Max Verstappen for the title last season in that final race. The year before, he beat out George Russell in Abu Dhabi in the final race, and then in Season 1, to his credit, he did wrap it up a couple of weeks early in a very, very dominant run throughout the second half of the championship. Really, yeah, Canada kind of just revitalised Charles Leclerc over the course of that year, so it's safe to say, yeah, that he has been the dominant force of this series. It's been rather weird to see Ferrari winning quite a lot as well, which, of course, everybody that's kept up with real-life Formula 1 this year, it hasn't quite been the same. But, I mean, yeah, like I said, a massive thank you to all of you guys for your support throughout the entirety of this career mode. I'll be honest, I have had a lot of fun with it, but I also can appreciate that My Team isn't the same as it was, obviously, on the previous iteration. Like I said, I've already done videos talking about My Team 2.0, why it hasn't worked, but hopefully we can try and put all that behind us and get one good last race, because like I said, I'm really, really excited for the new F125 career mode that I'm going to bring for you guys as well down the line. But yeah, as always, timestamps will be linked down in the description below. A massive thank you to everybody. We are so close to 150,000 subs. So if you aren't already, please make sure you hit that sub button. If you want early access to this new series when it does release, you can do so by clicking the join button as well for just £1 a month. You also help really support the work we do here. But yeah, without further ado, let's get out there one last time.
It's all about flow and pace today, qualifying in Qatar. A high-speed test that will set the grid for tomorrow's race. So welcome along.
Well, with it being a sprint weekend, then one-shot qualifying returns once more. And, well, the pressure has never been higher inside F125. We need to get some laps in tonight where we can really deliver the pace that we know this car is capable of. Obviously, last year here, if I remember correctly, Albert and I actually locked out the front row in a Cadillac that arguably wasn't as competitive as this year's, but Ferrari always come alive in the season finale as well. As I said in the intro, we've seen that with Leclerc every year. But could, a MasterCard McLaren, could a Mercedes or even a Red Bull potentially spring a bit of a surprise as well here in this final weekend of the campaign? 79 races done, and it all comes down to this one here in here in Qatar, even I should say. Much rather a finale here than in Abu Dhabi. Then again, I would much rather really the finales out in Brazil, but obviously, yeah, really looking forward to that weekend coming up as well. IRL, I think it's going to be a big one for the World Championship as well. But as we come towards the end of Sector 2, though, Yuki Tsunoda flying along in that MasterCard McLaren car. I mean, everybody towards the front. This final sector should be, completely full throttle, as Charles Leclerc now immediately storms back to P1 then. So as we try and make our way out of the final corner, Tsunoda will snatch it back. We have not delivered though. We will end up 9th on the grid. And just one little error there really cost us. Well, there we go then. Yuki Tsunoda maybe putting a bit of a spanner in the works then for Charles Leclerc. 0.06 of a second in it between your two front row starters. 0.09 of a second in it between your two guys on the second row there. Oscar Piastri will line up in P5. But I mean, we need to try and obviously do really well in the sprint race now to obviously build up some confidence as well. But, I mean, 5.5 tenths away from Leclerc. There have not been many qualifying sessions this year where the margin has been that big. Further down the order, though, both Williams there just in and around your top 10. Pierre Gasly down in 14th. He'll be disappointed, slower than Solov, with Zach O'Sullivan right at the rear of the field. But every single car running quicker than a 120. I've said it before, I'll say it again. The cars in this series are just insanely fast. Although I guess I won't say it again because these cars won't be here anymore.
So it's all about speed in today's sprint. Not very many laps and no chance to get ahead on strategy. Who here today has the raw skill to take them to the top? So we're back here in Losail and this is the track map. 3.34 miles, 16 turns and just one DRS zone out of turn 16. It's already a fast and flowing track after all. There's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS though through the long straight and into turn 1. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's sprint. Yuki Tsunoda lines up on pole position with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Antonelli, Norris, Oscar Piastri and Russell, Ocon, Sainz, Hadja and Pepe Marti, Colapinto, Bortoletto, Nicolas Solov and Gasly, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Lance Stroll and Paul Aron, Tramnitz, Crawford, Doohan and Zach O'Sullivan rounds off the grid. And with preparations almost complete, let's head trackside for today's sprint.
Right, this championship is still alive and there's still a chance we can win it. So get out there and bring the title home. Come on!
Oh, there you go, Mark. He's starting to get the vibe. He's starting to get the spirit towards the end of this campaign. We still have an 18-point buffer. We cannot be, going into the Grand Prix on the back foot against Leclerc, irrespective of what happens. As I've just noticed, my engineer there, I guess right above me in the face cam, gives you one hell of a side eye, doesn't he? When he feels like it as well. 10 laps, though, in today's sprint. And we're going to gamble the soft compound tyre just to see how well it will survive throughout this first race of the weekend. Also, we need to try and be able to carve our way through the order. Let's see what we can do, though. Every point counts this late on in the championship. The 5 red lights are on. It's lights out and away we go then for Sprint Race Saturday as Carlos Sainz are immediately getting a very good run down in towards turn 1. Pepe Marti trying to cover us off as well in towards that first corner. Can we try and go the long way around there as 3 wide? Oh, just in front there. Oh no! Sainz got another second wobble. I thought we'd done a good job to avoid him, but apparently not, and we will still gain the place. We've got to try and keep pushing, but with a little bit of front wing damage then, that is not the ideal way. So we wanted to kickstart this weekend there as a little squeeze draws Russell out up over the top of the hill, but yeah, that has been a terrible start there. It looks like Tsunoda in that second NASCAR McLaren car has held on right up at the front, but yeah, we basically just got to try and move our way up through as best as possible. I mean, the front wing damage isn't much, but it's definitely enough that you will notice it there as well. I thought about having a look to the inside of Esti Besti by the time we got out towards the end of Sector 2, but everybody just settling in then. I think the worst thing for us, though, is of course the fact that both Ferraris out-qualified both Cadillacs ready for the sprint race tonight. So that is definitely not quite flat out through there. And that's going to really cost us them throughout the entirety of this sprint race. We can't do a lot about it at the moment. It's effectively, I mean, based on qualifying, this sprint race has become damaged imitation for us. But hopefully, if Tsunoda can win this one, Antonelli looks to be applying pressure to Leclerc as well. As here goes Ocon to the inside of our teammate down in towards turn 1. I mean, surely, Cadillac, you play the numbers game this weekend. You allow myself past Oscar Piastri, as long as we don't come under pressure from anybody else there. But Ocon making a move on our Australian teammate, and he might immediately try and set sail Oscar Piastri is barely hanging on inside the range of Esteban Ocon then. By the time we get towards the end of lap 2, as here goes Leclerc for the lead of the Grand Prix against Tsunoda. By the time they get back down in towards turn 1, as we will have a big dive to the inside of our teammate Piastri there. So as one Ferrari takes the lead, the Cadillacs too busy battling with each other right towards the tail end of the points. Oscar, I don't know what's wrong with him. I mean, it's been the story all year, hasn't it? And that he has just really struggled in this Cadillac car. Kind of in a similar vein to how we've seen him struggle in the McLaren towards the end of 2025. But a huge under-rotation there from the front. Unless he can stay with Ocon and really start applying the pressure, I've got to try and find a way around our teammates. Oh, Leclerc again coming under pressure, back in towards someone there. Tsunoda will reclaim the lead of the Grand Prix, and even Kimi Antonelli there moving his way through. So just how quickly things can chop and change. And well, I know we haven't done that many sprint races this season. Honestly, I think annoying is probably too strong, but I do usually prefer doing a normal weekend format. But yeah, I mean, could those sprint race points be critical, be pivotal in the title fight? Ferrari look dead set to outscore Cadillac here by quite a few in this sprint, but Leclerc now really seems on the back foot as he picked up a little bit of damage in that battle with Kimi Antonelli down at turn 1, because it seems, yeah, like our top two have absolutely bolted. And well, if Red Bull suddenly now have got a car to fight in this season finale, Max Verstappen, I'm sure, is sat at home wondering why didn't he have a Red Bull that could fight here in Abu Dhabi last season as well. It was a valiant effort all campaign by the Dutchman, but he never really should have won that championship, should he? The Ferrari was always a bit of a quicker car. It was just a bit of Max magic towards the end of the season. But I think, yeah, Leclerc's got damage, because he is really struggling at the moment. Maybe it was a bit like Oscar earlier on, where it just takes him a lap or so to try and regroup and refocus. But here now goes Lando Norris and Esteban Ocon back in towards turn 1 there. Leclerc's going to lose 1. Leclerc might lose 2. As one of our French compatriots there trying to go around his outside through 1. We'll have the inside line through turn 2, and Leclerc is sinking like a stone here. And suddenly now, Oscar Piastri and myself, we've got to be in a position to capitalise as well. What has happened to Leclerc? I can't see any front wing damage, but he just seems to be all over the show, starting to get that car where he needs it. Come on, Oscar, push, man, push a bit more. Can we have a look for a move to the inside of our teammate? Oh, a bit of a suicidal lunge. Luckily there, Oscar, he knows the drill this weekend. He's got to work with me, and we now will try and go in attack of the Ferrari. One more lap to go then of the Qatar sprint. Ocon just seems to lose a little bit of ground behind Lando Norris, or through those final couple of corners there. That's the worst run I've had through the final corner in quite a while. Here comes Oscar Piastri trying to have a look to the outside. This is not what we need, Oscar. Luckily, we've just got a little bit more top end there. Ocon, he will barge his way through on Lando Norris by the time they get down towards turn 1 there. And Ferrari yet lose out on another point here. And like I said, although the Drivers' Championship, we're still looking pretty strong. The Constructors really could swing either way in this final race. Ferrari have often had a bit more horsepower this year, but that has come with the caveat of more engine reliability issues. So I thought there we might have been able to get a run on Leclerc off the corner, but apparently not. And well, this bodes well for the race though. The Ferrari really struggling over their longer run there. Once again, have got the speed. But, you know, we've seen it a few times this year that Ferrari, maybe over a race stint, really beginning to struggle. No such struggles, though, from Kimi Antonelli up at the front of the order. As I believe, yeah, we've done 3 sprints this year, haven't we? And Antonelli is going to claim victory in 2 of them. And I believe, yeah, it was obviously George Russell in the Mercedes, wasn't it? That is going to claim the other one. Through the final corner, Red Bull back on top once again. Saturday nights worked beautifully for the Milton Keynes-based squad there. Antonelli will claim his 2nd sprint win of the year, followed home by Yuki Tsunoda. P6 for us. Could have been better, could have been worse. Well, there we go then. I must admit, Kimi Antonelli does look slightly cursed still, I think, in that Red Bull suit. But he will claim victory there. 4 tenths clear of Yuki Tsunoda, come the end of Sprint Race Saturday there. Esteban Ocon, brilliant drive from 7th on the grid for P3. They're just ahead of Lando Norris and Charles Leclerc. Myself, Oscar Piastri, and yeah, George Russell down in P8. So no major surprises there, I guess, from the sprint. Both Red Bulls, both Ferraris, both Cadillacs, a McLaren and a Mercedes. Solov, once again, just loves to finish right outside of your points as well. Which is pretty funny for him. As yeah, just Pierre Gasly who failed to see the checkered flag, and Ollie Behrman, if he's not getting a DNF, he seems to always be getting some kind of penalty or something here. What on earth did he do to get that one? As we'll try and take a quick look at the race director incidents. Ollie Behrman ignoring yellow flags, so he must have overtaken someone when Gasly broke down as well. So absolutely love that for Ollie. But yeah, there we go then. What does that do to our championship? Obviously, the gap to Leclerc has come down by 1. Lando Norris now back within 100 points of the top of the table as well. And constructors-wise, Ferrari 5 behind. McLaren, though, and Red Bull, 1 point in it between them. And if Mercedes had a bit of a miracle, they could still get the jump. Aston Martin, they're 1 point behind Audi as well. So there is a lot to fight for up and down the order. But for one final time then, back into qualifying.
It's all about flow and pace today, qualifying in Qatar. A high-speed test that will set the grid for tomorrow's race. So welcome along.
Well, back out then into one-shot qualifying for the real Grand Prix. Now that we've done the sprint race, I can finally really figure out some of the hypotheticals in my head towards the end of the campaign. A 17-point buffer over Charles Leclerc means that we need to finish P6 or better in this main event today if he wins. But that's not the case, actually. We need to finish P5 because Leclerc, if he wins this Grand Prix, we would be equal on wins with 6 apiece. But he has had more second-place finishes over the course of the campaign. So P5 is what we need this afternoon. I've only finished P5 or worse twice all year. That was Brazil just a couple of races ago, and then the season opener out at Albert Park as well. So obviously, in the Drivers' Championship, we've got a little bit more wiggle room. But the problem is, I want to win the Constructors for Cadillac as well there, and with a 5-point margin ahead of Ferrari, we need to try and deliver this afternoon. Plus, let's be fair, you always want to win the season finale, don't you? Especially if you're going on to win the Drivers' Championship as well there. And well, so far this lap, feeling a whole lot tidier than the one we did in sprint qualifying. Purple Sector 1, Purple Sector 2, and just draining a little bit of battery, then down in towards the final couple of corners. Will it be one last pole lap of this My Team career mode there? Get the throttle down nice and early out of the final turn. No, it's not. Norris stole it at the line. There must be thousandths of a second in it. Well, 6 thousandths of a second was the gap ready for sprint qualifying. 13,000 seems like an ocean between Lando Norris and myself there as we prepare for the Grand Prix. Tsunoda will line up third, just ahead of George Russell and Carlos Sainz there, with Andrea Kimi Antonelli just ahead of Charles Leclerc. But Lando Norris then trying to fly the Ferrari flag as Leclerc and Piastri way down the order. Pepe Marti and Franco Colapinto once again both just outside the top 10. I would assume Gasly will have grid penalties ready for the race, but who else might serve some pens?
Welcome back to Qatar and the Lusail International Circuit, a track that has a long history for two-wheeled motorsport action. But tonight, it's the four wheels of F1 that are back, and Lewis Hamilton going for another win here. We're back here in Lusail for a track that's 3.34 miles long. There are 16 turns around its unique three-prong shape and just a single DRS zone out of turn 16. It's fast and it's flowing, and there's a good overtaking opportunity with DRS down the long straight and into turn 1. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Lando Norris put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he'll start from pole position. And Isaac Hadjar completes the front row. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Sainz, Antonelli, Charles Leclerc and Ocon, Piastri, Pepe Marti, Colapinto and Yuki Tsunoda, Bortoletto, Russell, Nico Hulkenberg and Crawford, Solov, Behrman, Paul Aaron and Jack Doohan, Stroll O'Sullivan, Tramnitz, and Pierre Gasly picks up the final grid slot. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. And alongside me here today in the commentary box, Anthony Davidson. What a day in store today. Time to realise the dreams. And when we say dreams, we mean the team's dreams. It's the team championship that's on the line today.
Absolutely, Crofty. And you got that responsibility as a driver. You're the one sitting in the car. And you feel that immense pressure from those 500 or 1,000 people, depending on which team it is, working for you and your teammate to get the job done and bring those valuable points home. You're going to be celebrating with your team tonight if you get it right.
Right, it's been a long, hard season. We're almost at the end, but we cannot switch off until after that checkered flag today. Let's try and end today's race on a high note.
Well, I think, again, Mark's absolutely with the right idea here, and very interesting, of course. I've never heard Crofty doing that intro either. Clearly, he feels that the Drivers' Championship is a foregone conclusion, but yeah, we need Oscar Piastri to deliver today if we want to wrap up the Constructors as well. 29 laps between us and glory in the F1 My Team Career Mode. Can we bring this plucky underdog American team to the height of the greatest motorsport on planet Earth? Let's wait and find out then. Is everybody around us on the softs? That is a bit of a surprise. It's 5 red lights. Oh, and there you go, Lando Norris getting off to a very good start. I don't expect us to get a pretty good launch, but we will try and do damage limitation in towards turn 1 there. Apparently there's already... Oh, who was that there? I think that was Esteban Ocon trying to have a bit of a look down the inside of turn 1, as we almost ended up in a Red Bull sandwich there. Antonelli getting the elbows out through turn 2, and that's allowing Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris a little bit of a window to try and break away immediately then at the front of the order. P3 absolutely happy with where we sit early on, but let's not forget, of course, I'm still yet to have a mechanical failure inside this series. I've had very few in F1 25's entirety, to be completely honest with you guys as well. So if we got one tonight and it ended up costing us the championship, the Drivers' Championship, I would be very, very disappointed. Constructors-wise, I think it's probably far easier to shift more of the blame over to our teammate Oscar Piastri, because he really hasn't delivered throughout most of the campaign so far. But if things were to end right now, Ferrari would be Constructors' Champions. I honestly think if we want a shot at it, we basically got to go out and try and win tonight as well. There is that understeer with a race tank's worth of fuel. A lot more than I was expecting towards the end of lap 1 there, as Carlos Sainz then immediately already perhaps beginning to lose touch with Lando Norris up at the front of the order. Can we get a run on Carlos back in towards turn 1? No, we cannot. As, I mean, Leclerc's had a pretty good start there, already up into P5. Trying to keep up with Kimi Antonelli just behind us. But he's still under pressure from, I believe that is Esteban Ocon behind him, who has been a bit of a menace for the Ferrari so far this weekend, and yet again has actually made the move happen. There we go then, looks like Sainz has already dropped out the range then of Lando Norris up at the front of the order, so we need to try and go for maximum attack then already. Won't be long before the medium hopefully becomes the better tyre than the soft, but we've seen it before. The Ferrari can occasionally really stretch its rubber there as to the outside of Carlos. I mean, the DRS is so powerful down in towards turn 1 here, especially when the car in front doesn't have it. But yeah, we need to make sure that we stay within a second then of Lando up at the front. That gap currently 1.1. There we go then. Carlos Sainz now might be coming under pressure from Kimi Antonelli then. So Red Bull, they could really throw a bit of a spanner in the works here. They did it in the sprint, but it does look like their pace might be real this weekend. So, I mean, like I said, we're just waiting, biding our time rather patiently. I mean, like I said, if I had to win one championship or the other, I would definitely want to try and bag the drivers tonight. I want to win the Constructors for Cadillac, I really do. But I think, for us personally, I know this is a My Team Career Mode, but, this has been the big reason, as I've said before, why My Team 2.0 hasn't really worked. People want to run their own team, absolutely, inside the F1 game. It's great to be able to have that option, but people also want to drive as themselves. I don't say Isaac Hadjar going for the lead of the Grand Prix or anything like that. I say I'm going for the lead of the Grand Prix. Now, obviously, if we do win tonight, we will become the second French Formula 1 World Champion, only alongside the great Alain Prost. But yeah, F126, the big thing they need to implement again is the ability to race as yourself, because it has been this game's downfall. Every single lap, we just seem to be able to follow Norris just that little bit closer or through the final couple of corners. And let's now see if we can get a run back down in towards turn 1 then. 9 laps in, 20 still to go here, and getting a huge amount of speed down in towards turn 1. And that time, around 220 miles an hour is enough there, swooping through, and for the first time tonight, into the lead of the Qatar Grand Prix. Let's try and stay here until the pit stops. No idea what's happened to Kimi Antonelli then, whether he's got an issue on that car or after Ocon spin. He's been told to really nurse his tyres because he's just dropping away from the back of Leclerc and co. Right now, Oscar Piastri's moved through, so it is now Cadillac, Ferrari, McLaren, Ferrari, Cadillac inside your top 5 there. Carlos Sainz still trying to hang on quite well as he's had a little bit of a success, hasn't he, inside this series. As Lando Norris, though, I think this will probably be his pit-in lap then. Just see there, I mean, even when we're using batteries, still got huge speed on us, but not enough by the time we get down in towards turn 1 there. A little bit of understeer through that first corner. These mediums are definitely starting to feel pretty second-hand as well. I hate to imagine how those softs are starting to hang on. Well, I am just going to take these tyres 1 lap further then, although the warning lights just flashed up as there we go, Norris going again then. So Sainz into the pit lane. I can only assume Leclerc will be diving in. Just figured I'd rather have the advantage in the second half of this race as well, especially on these mediums. We are beginning to pull away now from Lando Norris here. So will Piastri be able to get the jump on Charles Leclerc? He's had a lot of clear air this lap. He's been able to push on nicely on his set of the hard compound tyres. They do take a little bit of time though to fire up. They're not always the best strategy to go with. I see Leclerc on mediums. There goes Oscar Piastri then. It's going to be close by the time they get down towards turn 1, but Leclerc has hung on. But I thought I just saw Leclerc on mediums. Surely Ferrari aren't trying to stretch that one out of nowhere. I would have figured that's pretty much impossible here, but with Lando Norris only 2 seconds back, if that's what he's able to do, they're going to be under a lot more pressure than I ever expected. Into the pit lane then at the end of lap 14. So we've done pretty well on these mediums, but maybe Ferrari are going to be able to do even better. No risk needed on the way in there. In fact, slowing down probably a lot too much, as that's going to allow Lando Norris just to close in a little bit. But I think now Piastri then has got to be in the range of Charles Leclerc at this stage. As there we go. Come on, team. One final good pit stop of the year, I beg of you. Come on. No! Of course!
I know it's not ideal, but let's try and put that behind us now and get back into this race.
Oh, well, it looks like Lando Norris as well had a pretty rough pit stop here, so we should still come out in front, but clearly the pressure getting to the team. And yeah, look at that, Norris. He is going mediums as well then. So Ferrari, they are really trying to throw something different at this Grand Prix. Cadillac and MasterCard McLaren all on hards, but Ferrari are trying to go the Hail Mary to see if they can snooker this one away. We've still got a decent lead though over Norris, so let's just try and manage this gap as best as we can. I think the key is don't let him back inside the DRS. Well, Carlos Sainz then a little bit on the back foot at the moment. Those Ferraris on fresher, softer tyres, and well, both obviously of those two that he's battling with former teammates, and obviously both of them with one of his former team's car. So I don't think he's going to try and defend from Charles Leclerc all too much. As Leclerc then to the outside in towards turn 1, and there we go. Charles Leclerc now up into the podium places here. We'd still win the championship if we can stay put. But Oscar Piastri, this has pretty much been a metaphor for all season, hasn't it? Oscar Piastri close, but just never really close enough to be all too useful. Oh no, Lando Norris even. He's right now on the 1 second buffer, so Ferrari are still throwing everything at this. They know they've got to try and at least get one of their cars ahead of us before those tyres start to fall off. 8 laps to go of this season finale, and Lando Norris, he is still pushing like crazy. I'm trying to manage them. I'm trying to be sensible. I want to make sure we've got good speed right towards the very end. There's an engine warning light now. That is not what we need at this stage of the night. I don't believe it's anything too major. It is just, the ICE there, so Obviously, I know this race, although it's nighttime, it is still very, very warm here out in Qatar. But the last thing you need here is a lack of ponies in the back of the car, and, well, certainly another Ferrari does not lack. Prancing horse on the logo and plenty of horses in this Ferrari power unit, but all season it has felt like Ferrari have just had a little bit more in a straight line. Leclerc now less than 3 seconds away as well, as Lando Norris desperate to try and stay within 1 second, stay within the DRS range here, as we make our way through this tricky triple right-hander, still completely flat out through all of them, and even the final left as well, just about flat. But look at that, Norris now 6/10 back as we start lap 22 and 29. This is not over just yet then, as we're going to have to try and break the toe immediately. Just don't give him the slipstream there, don't give him any kind of helping hand. Norris doesn't really care though, he's not going for any of it. As back in towards turn 1, we'll hang on that time, but we're going to have to try and break the slipstream if I want to keep him at bay. Or this will also potentially allow his Leclerc to continue to close up, as Sainz and Piastri, they've got nothing. Ferrari might have played a blinder. Oh, Franco Colapinto suddenly out of the Grand Prix, so that is both Williams then in this series finale out here in Qatar. And, well, yeah, must be disappointing then for the Argentinian, who of course came back to Williams inside this series. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with the driver career mode over on Matsu2 gameplay. Williams in that series, without any kind of outside influence, aka me, have basically become, you know, a championship threat now inside this game. Safe to say that hasn't quite happened in the My Team universe there, as, well, yet another Mercedes engine going bang. But that is reassuring for us then, because that will hopefully mean that it is far less likely now that we get a mechanical failure in these dying stages here. 4 laps to go from Losail. There is the stricken Williams down in turn 1. But now with a 3-second gap over Lando Norris, it's been a valiant effort by him to try and help his teammate, to help his team here in this finale. But it might all be for naught. I must admit, when I first picked these drivers for this final season of the career mode, Oscar Piastri, at the time, I thought he was going to waltz away to a real-life Formula 1 World Championship. He was so highly rated inside this game as well, that he was kind of just the sensible choice to have as a second driver. But this young man, Isaac Hadjar, I must admit, throughout Formula 3 and Formula 2, watching him rise his way through the ranks, I wasn't a particularly big fan of him. You never really got to see his personality. You just kind of got to see his outbursts on the radio. But ever since he made the step up into Formula 1, pretty much immediately, I thought this kid is absolutely fantastic there. He is so funny and exactly what you want on a Formula 1 grid. Massively helped, I think, as well, by the fact he's a huge Lewis Hamilton fan, which anybody that's been around here for long enough will know I am exactly the same. But yeah, I honestly thought heading into this season that obviously if I drove as Isaac, then hopefully Oscar Piastri would be able to have a good championship battle with our teammate. But a bit like what we've seen IRL towards the end of 2025, Oscar Piastri, I mean, I'm recording this after Mexico, before Brazil. This video should go live before Brazil as well. Oscar Piastri just seems to be crumbling right at the last hurdle. I am still hoping that he can become 2025 World Champion, but 2 laps from home now here in Qatar. We have got the advantage, and surely we can't get a mechanical failure this late on in the night. Engine wear up to 61%, so it's still looking pretty good towards the end of this race. I spoke about it earlier on, though, in this Grand Prix about, you know, my team. I was so excited for it coming into F1 25. I was so hyped for this game mode. Obviously, a return, a refresh, it was so big on F1 21 and F1 22, but they've definitely missed the mark with it inside F1 25. My Team 2.0, I think, has the groundwork to be a big success, but just isn't quite there yet. But that being said, we have still made some memories inside this series. We've seen new Grand Prix winners. We've seen new teams in Formula 1. We have seen resurgence. We have seen redemption. We have seen so much Charles Leclerc and Ferrari domination as well towards the end of campaigns. But Isaac Hadjar, we are just 1 lap away now from joining an incredibly exclusive club. Grand Prix racing started back in the late 1800s in France. And it's kind of bizarre, the fact that the birth of Grand Prix racing, there is no French Grand Prix. There has only ever been one French F1 World Champion. But in just another minute and a half, we should see a second one. Isaac Hadjar, I must admit, I would probably quite like to see this for the young man in real life, because I absolutely think the way he's driven in 2025, he could be F1 World Champion caliber in future years to come. We have started this year on the back foot against Ferrari. A P6 finish in Australia was not what we wanted, but pretty much since then, apart from Brazil, we have racked up podiums every single weekend. Ferrari, Charles Leclerc, have given us such a run for our money. They have been the team to beat. You know, even into this final weekend, I still thought Leclerc probably has still got a fair shot of doing it. Ferrari have thrown everything in the kitchen sink at their season finale tonight, trying to stretch the tyres on both of their cars, trying to do everything for a driver's and a team's championship. But for the first time in My Team 2.0 on F1 25, Ferrari are gonna be toppled. We have proven that you can beat them in this universe through the final couple of corners. Isaac Hadjar, I'm sure, is about to go wild over the team radio. I did not know which way this was going to go tonight, but what a send-off for F1 My Team. We have done it.
Oh man, that's it. It's all over and you are the world champion. What a drive, what a season. Well done.
And with that, another year of Formula One draws to a close and a new World Drivers' Champion is declared. Another entry added to that prestigious list of the sport's most incredible drivers. Isaac Hadjar takes the checkered flag and wins.
Well, a great victory today for the final race of the season, and you take that energy with you through the end of the year, through the winter break, and it's important because your team lives off of that. You want them to deliver you the best possible car for the start of next season's campaign.
What a day it's been for Formula One, and what a day it's been for these three drivers. Time for the podium celebrations. Time for our drivers to celebrate. And you've got to hand it to Isaac Hadjar, head and shoulders above the rest today, and victory with another impressive performance.
Well, there we go then. It might have been a bit of a shaky sprint race, but Grand Prix Sunday once again belongs to Isaac Hadjar. 7 wins over the course of the campaign. I believe 6 for Charles Leclerc and 3 for Lando Norris, if I'm not mistaken. But that is enough. As you saw, doing the donouts, doing the burnouts, we are Formula One World Champion. P1 for ourselves there, obviously from second on the grid. Lando Norris, he did put up a great fight, but ultimately not enough there. Charles Leclerc in a bit of a distant P3, but ultimately, you know, I always think it's quite good when the top 3 in the championship finish on the podium in that final race. Oscar Piastri finished behind Carlos Sainz when all is said and done. Couldn't even beat a MasterCard McLaren there. Goes to show just how much the Australian has struggled throughout the entirety of this campaign. Tsunoda ahead of George Russell, Andrea Kimi, Antonelli, Gabriel Bortoletto and Gasly from the rear of the field will round out your top 10. And, well, it wouldn't be an F1 race this season without Nicolas Solo finishing 1 place outside of your points as well. Esteban Ocon ahead of Nico Hulkenberg there. Crawford ahead of Stroll. Behrman seeing the checkered flag ahead of Doohan, Tramnitz, Paul Aaron and Zach O'Sullivan rounding out your finishes there. With just Colapinto and Pepe Marti. Bit of a shame for Williams that we don't see either of their cars get to the checkered flag. What does that do, though, to our Drivers' World Championship? Well, it means a 27-point buffer. Even if we had another race out in Abu Dhabi, it would be all done. It would be all wrapped up in the drivers' table there, and very, very happy because of it. Lando Norris finishes in third there, 20 points clear of his former teammate Oscar Piastri. Carlos Sainz, brutally consistent throughout the entirety of the campaign, and I think, yeah, had McLaren given him a car, he was well in the fight for the World Championship as well there. George Russell, another one that delivered very, very admirably ahead of Esteban Ocon, who gets the better of Antonelli come season's end. Yuki Tsunoda ahead of Pierre Gasly in your top 10, so it was just your big 5 teams inside your top 10 overall. Franco Colapinto, a pretty good campaign for him in P11 ahead of Bortoletto there, and Nico Hülkenberg, of course. Audi, we've seen them do so badly throughout most of this game, but they really did come alive with Hülkenberg for a few races in this final season. Solov, to his credit, did score a few points this campaign, which can't be said for all of our rookies inside this series. They're ahead of Behrman and Crawford. Pepe Marti with 4 points to his name. Jack Doohan there with 1. And then you can see Stroll, Aaron, Tramnitz and Zach O'Sullivan all failing to score. So I believe in the Constructors' Championship, Bortoletto, those 2 points here tonight, means that not only did he outscore his old teammate in the Drivers' Championship, but it also means that he helped, well, he basically carried Aston Martin in beating them to Audi in the Constructors as well there. Cadillac, though, on top of the Formula 1 world. Will we ever see this IRL next year? Only time will tell. But Ferrari in P2, 7 points back, finally. Their dynasty has been toppled once again. McLaren do hang on for third ahead of Red Bull there, with Mercedes in, not quite a lonely P5, but definitely a little bit further off than they would have wanted. Those mechanical failures towards the end of the campaign really cost them. Williams hang on to P6 there, and like I said, Aston Martin jump Audi in at that final race as well. Haas in P9, Alpine there, and VCarb once again, the only team that failed to score a point. Genuinely, though, from the bottom of my heart, I cannot thank you guys enough, for sticking around, for watching and enjoying this series. I know it's had its ups and downs. I know that, ultimately, actually, the driver career mode on the second channel is quite regularly now, towards the end, been more popular than this My Team series, but I am really, really excited for some future projects we've got coming up as we prepare ourselves for 2026. A new era for Formula 1, and I'm hoping it will be a new era as well here on the Matt212 channel. But yeah, 80 races. A massive thank you to all of you guys that stuck around throughout all of them. For channel members, I will do a little bit of an update video and kind of showcase what would have happened in Season 5. So if you want to see that, like I said, click the join button down below. But yeah, a massive thank you to Roll as well, who edited every single video from this series as well. So a quick shout out to him, obviously the editor here on the main channel. But yeah, that's going to do us for this series then. I'm going to bring back the F1 2004 career mode. We're going to wrap up that championship over the next couple of weeks. F1 25 will take a small hiatus, or at least the career modes will. But yeah, we'll be back with an all-new project very, very soon.